What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Thursday? And my goodness, we've got a great show today as I was at Titans OTA practice on Wednesday and have a lot of observations to get to. And we're going to really focus a lot on J.C. Latham and then also what Titans wide receiver Calvin Ridley said about Treylon Burks. It is guaranteed to trigger some people that watch the show because you guys have some problems with something that I'm sure Calvin Ridley said. But we're going to talk a lot about what I think with J.C. Latham, and I think this guy's exuding elite potential in just his first 3 weeks of being a Tennessee Titan. And I've got things to back that up. I've got video to back that up. We got a lot of great video clips from practice yesterday for both J.C. Latham, other Titans offensive linemen, and what Calvin Ridley said about Treylon Burks. Plus, I got Treylon Burks showing us a little bit of what maybe Brian Callahan was talking about with that 22.6 miles per hour speed that he was showing off earlier this offseason. So we're going to have a great show before we end with the Magic Bucket. So, Jack, welcome in. This is going to be a great show, and apologies for a little bit later start. I think I had like 5 or 6 videos to cut up and edit this morning. So, but it's great content. We're ready to go. Let's get this thing rolling.
Yeah, Mitch Hicks has it right already. Don't forget to like the show, folks. As you guys are filing in, like the show. It helps us grow. It helps us reach more people. That's the goal. We want to keep building over here. We're going to have to do it with the help of you guys. So if you don't mind liking the show and sharing the show, if you're watching on Facebook, sharing is caring. Share it to your Titans your Facebook groups. And let's grow the conversation. Let's bring everybody in here. We're going to grow the audience as well. It's a big aspect of what we do. So help us grow the show in that way. Next, if you're watching on YouTube, tap the bell icon near the top of your screen and turn your notifications on. Just like yesterday, you saw all those videos. You're going to see even more by turning on those notifications so you don't miss an update anytime A to Z Sports posts anything to their YouTube channel. Finally, if you're watching on Twitch, text that Twitch link around to your Titans text groups. I know you got friends right now getting ready for work or already at work that want to kill an hour. This is the place to do it. You can turn on the TV. You're not going to hear Titans talk. Bring them here. We're going to talk Titans. We're all Titans all the time. So text your friends. Bring them on in here. And Austin, finally, let's get the show on the road.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Jack Gentry of the Titan Up Podcast, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you guys like Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org. They're the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans and get a quote today using our link at fbhp.com/ATOZ. So, Jack, we had a lot of great stuff come out of Titans OTA practice yesterday. I went out there and I'd sent a tweet out that showed some observations that I had of OTA practice. We'll spend a lot of time today on J.C. Latham and what I've continued to see, followed by what Calvin Ridley said about Treylon Burks. I also like what I see about another Titans offensive lineman that we'll talk about. And, I have a pretty good feeling about the Titans slot receivers, but I do want to address something out of the gates because I added into that tweet that I like what this Titans group has from the slot receiver options. And I listed in this order: Boyd, Kinsey, Phillips, Jackson. And people lost their ever-loving minds with knowing that Mason Kinsey was second in that slot receiving group. And it was not ranking the slot receivers there. I was basically just saying that I like the depth and the body that they have at slot. And Mason Kinsey, I basically listed those 4 players in the order that they do drills: Boyd, Kinsey, Phillips, and Jaquan Jackson, the rookie there. So I did want to say that because people were freaking the hell out of me saying, Mason Kinsey season's here again. Like, Mason Kinsey won't go away. He won't go away. I'm not saying he's going to make the team. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying he won't go away. And he's still doing everything right from that standpoint of the positions he's at. So I just wanted to get that out there on the front end before we dive into all this great J.C. Latham stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you ranked him in terms of experience is what you did. I mean, Kinsey's been here the longest.
Technically, yes.
But Tyler Boyd, yeah, he's got more experience than him. And then Kyle Phillips behind him, Jaquan Jackson behind him. Hopefully one of those three behind Tyler Boyd stands out in training camp. I'm really excited this offseason to figure out who's going to be the backup slot guy and also potentially handle some return duties because, look, Mason Kinsey's done it before. Jaquan Jackson's got experience doing it in college. Obviously, Kyle Phillips has been back there for the Titans before. So that's going to be a little interesting. It's not like a starting spot that's up for grabs, really, but that's a key role spot to keep an eye on as things that move forward here and OTAs continue to roll along.
Yeah, and my focus was just to point out the depth that I like at that position for those specific players. So, Jack, now we're going to talk about JC Latham because he was the number one note that I had in my observation suite from Wednesday's OTA practice. And we're going to go a little bit back in time. We're going to rewind to 19 days before yesterday, JC Latham's first go-around with who we all know as Bertha, Bill Callahan's own invented sled. The first time that JC Latham met Bertha looked like this. So, Jack, that was the first time that JC Latham met Bertha. Let's look at what JC Latham did to Bertha yesterday, 19 days after their first date. Go! Oh, my God. Like, this is, and I'll say this. Nobody in the Titans offensive line moved Bertha like that. Not a single person. Not any of the vets. Not any of the other players. Nobody was able to manhandle Bertha like this.
Superhuman strength.
Yes.
That's what that is. I mean, look, if there's anybody on that offensive line that you want to dominate a 380-pound sled, it's your left tackle. It's the left tackle of the future. It's one of your hopeful franchise pillars moving forward. That's what the Titans spent the 7th overall pick on. And seeing JC Latham improve already that much just in 2-3 short weeks with Bill Callahan. I mean, we've still got like 4 months until the regular season gets here. If he can make that jump in a few weeks, I am pumped up to see what he looks like when the regular season gets here.
And it's more than just figuring out a drill, right? But like I think, and Van Jeffrey says that's how you start 55. And so I'm thinking and I'm remembering all these different things. Like we heard Brian Callahan talking and busting with the boys a week ago about how he was out there after practice working on Bertha, kind of wandering around the practice field doing some extra work and just walking over to Bertha and figuring it out, right? But you're seeing the ownership that JC Latham is making and taking out of the gates of being the 7th overall draft pick and coming out and treating this responsibility with the utmost respect. And I think that is exciting, that the work ethic is there, the human ability is there, and what he's doing. So, look, there's a lot of things there that JC Latham is showing. He is already taking a leadership role within the Titans offensive line because when drills go up there, it's usually 2x2 is how they do a lot of these drills. And it's Lloyd Cushenberry, the highest paid center in the entire league when it comes to guaranteed money. And it's JC Latham. So let's hear from Brian Callahan when he was asked about JC Latham and how he's progressed so far, just how he's carrying himself over these last 3 weeks.
Latham in just the past few weeks and anything that surprises you about him, just even how he carries himself out there just as a pro.
Yeah, he doesn't carry himself like a rookie, which is always a good thing. He's very intentional about his work. He works really hard. He he spends a lot of time on this. I think he understands, which not all rookies understand, that it is a job. And there's an expectation, especially when you're drafted where he was drafted, that you got to come perform. And I think that he's aware of that. Not everybody always is. And he's got some maturity to him, but he's also has a youthful wonder that's kind of fun to be around. Everything's new to him. There's just a lot, and he just loves playing football. And so there's this kind of enthusiasm that he carries with him around the field that I think is fantastic. And he's getting better with the techniques. I think it's going to be really fun to see where he ends up between now and the next couple of weeks. And then when training camp starts, when the pads come on, that's we're going to find out a whole lot about a lot of people when training camp starts. So I think he's making the right progress, but I think as you guys talk to him too, you enjoy his personality. He's made of the right stuff, and he works really hard. So those two things are a good start for him.
Look, there's a lot of great there from JC Latham, but I think, my just overwhelming excited level is that JC Latham is exuding elite potential. It's all about how he's approaching this job as being the Titans left tackle for the future and the 7th overall draft pick. And I said this the Monday after the NFL draft, Jack, that I believe in JC Latham because he's had high expectations created for him his entire life. He was a top recruit. He goes to IMG Academy to make sure he can stay a top recruit. He was the #1 offensive lineman in his recruiting class. He picks Alabama to go compete at. And he plays a lot of years as a starter for a lot of games at Alabama. And then he lived up to the hype of being the top O-line recruit in the country in his class, going to the best school in the country during that time, and then living up to it to being a top 10 draft pick. That is why I think JC Latham's going to succeed, because he's succeeded everywhere else he's been. And he's already showing that in 19 days, he can make Bertha his you-know-what.
I think there's a want to inside of JC Latham. I think he wants to be a premier left tackle in the NFL. And the chat's going to make me say, like, well, doesn't everybody? I don't know. I just think that JC Latham, from, our first impressions, is that he'll stay late after practice. He'll have to get his butt dragged off the practice field if he's feeling like he doesn't do something right and wants to stay and put in a little extra work. I think that there's an element to him just respecting Bill Callahan so much. And obviously Bill Callahan's got such a body of work. I think JC Latham wants to be one of the best left tackles Bill Callahan's ever coached. I think there's some drive there for JC Latham because, man, it's been a long time since we've seen a Titans rookie, try and make this type of impression on a coaching staff. And if he does, I saw a comment earlier, well, let's see how he handles speed rushers. Look, if he struggles against them, it's not going to be for a lack of trying, right? I mean, he's putting 110% into this thing, which is exactly what you want to see. And also his personality, his desire to win, his desire to improve totally aligns with what I've seen from Will Levis as well. So I think it's important to have those two guys kind of with the same mindset, younger, future faces of the franchise, who are going to be able to set a tone, in the offseason when it comes to workouts, when it comes to OTAs, when it comes to stuff that some of these guys might want to, kind of half-ass. These two guys are going to be pushing it pedal to the metal at all times. So I love that the intangibles of JC Latham are already shining through.
Curtis took the words out of my mouth. And Jack, I told you this in our pre-show meeting. Curtis says AJ was the last rookie that stayed over like that. Oh, hey, JC Latham is the most impressive Titans rookie that I have seen with my two eyes since AJ Brown. And I it's early, but I remember watching AJ Brown in his rookie camp and the beginning of OTAs and how that continued to progress. I mean, AJ got a little dinged up during training camp and missed some time. Now we have to see what JC Latham's doing. AJ was a 51st pick overall in the second round. That year, Jeffrey Simmons was the 19th pick. Jeffrey Simmons was recovering from an ACL injury during this time after he was drafted. JC Latham has a chance to be a real guy for the Titans to build this foundation around under Brian Callahan. I want to play some more clips from Latham's practice yesterday, just because offensive line drills have never been more sexy. I mean, it's like that's where I spent a lot of my time yesterday, as we talked about in the show Wednesday morning before. So there, I'm going to lead this next video comp off with J.C. Latham coaching up and encouraging one of his other offensive line teammates who's going up against Bertha or Ogle. I'm not really sure. Bertha's getting more of the love. But this gives me a lot of vibes of, Jack, you're in the end zone, Brock. So let's listen to this.
Go! Go, Cole. Push through the goal line, Cole. Through the goal line, Cole. Through the goal line, Cole. Ah! Ready on the ball. Go! Ah! Break. Go, sir! Break! Hey, back to the inside, JC. Need your back. Get the serve. Go! Good. Nice job. Let him clear. Great contact. Second inside. Go! One. Break! Good. Cool.
How does that not get you fired up if you're a Titans fan? I mean, you've had one of the worst offensive lines in football over the last 2 seasons, and these guys look like they're ready to go to war, before June gets going. It's so fun to watch, and it just I can't help but feel like these guys are in the perfect hands to make a significant jump and really surprise some people this season. Man, it's fun to watch these dudes.
Yeah, it really is crazy. I mean, the way that the sleds move when J.C. Latham hits them is different. I saw Matt says, man, he pops while others push. It's crazy.
I mean, J.C. Latham could put a dent in a skyscraper. That's how strong he is.
It's insane. And like, look, I showed Lloyd Cushenberry in there. I mentioned that earlier, that the leadership between Cushenberry and Latham is already evident. Peter Skoronski looks like he is ready to go in year 2 as an offensive guard. And then, by the way, don't sound the alarms just yet, but I think Dylan Radins looks pretty dang good compared to what Dylan Radins typically looks like at this time of the year. And you saw that in the video there where he was third. Denise is asking me to show it again. So screw it. I'll show it again. It's 40 seconds of J.C. Latham and other offensive linemen. Cushenberry 79. Obviously, Dylan Radins is 75 a couple times in this video.
Go! Go, Cole. Push through the goal line, Cole. Through the goal line, Cole. Through the goal line, Cole. Ah! Ready on the ball. Go! Ah! Break. Go, sir! Break! Hey, back to the inside, JC. Need your back. Get the serve. Go! Good. Nice job. Let him clear. Great contact. Second inside. Go! One. Break! Good. Cool.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Like, I'm just gonna sit there and watch O-line drills for the entire training camp. And Ray School says Radins looks fast.
Yes, explosive.
I thought the same thing. He looked quick, fast. It's gonna be interesting to see what they're gonna do with him. Jake asked, no sign of Nicholas Petit-Frere still. That's correct. He was not out there. Jalen Duncan also not out there yesterday for the offensive lineman as well. So we'll get to more of this, but we do want to ask everybody a question here, because we played a lot of J.C. Latham video so far this morning. But we want to ask you guys, what's one word to describe J.C. Latham's growth in the 3 weeks of Titans practices? What is one word to describe J.C. Latham's growth in just 3 weeks, the first 3 weeks of his Titans practices? We'll get to all of your thoughts in one words here in a second. Get the vocab words out. But first, Farm Bureau Health Plans can save you when it comes to your health coverage and health plan for what you have for either you individually or your family as a whole. Farm Bureau Health Plans will go to work for you to find out what is the best way to attack your health coverage, because it's not the same for everybody. Maybe you're out there as an independent contractor or an entrepreneur and you're single. You don't have anybody else to lean on from health coverage. Farm Bureau Health Plans can do that for you. They did that with Zach a couple of years ago, still rolling strong with that as well. You can get helped out. Maybe you're empty nested with you and your spouse. You're entering that next level of needing coverage. Farm Bureau Health Plans has always specialized in that. Or maybe you have a growing family and you need to make sure that you've got that foundation and that safety net. Farm Bureau Health Plans has been serving Tennesseans for over 77 years across the entire state. And it's so easy to get hooked up with Farm Bureau health plans. You've got 200 locations across the state, but it's also really easy to use our link to get a quote in no time at fbhp.com/ATOZ.
BetMGM.com. We are 1 day away from the college baseball tournament starting. There's NHL and NBA playoffs in full swing. NBA is about to move on to the NBA Finals. NHL, obviously, in conference championships. So there's a ton of stuff to get in the game. Do it with BetMGM, man. If you're going to be betting on sports, do it with the king of sportsbooks and BetMGM. New users sign up, use our code A to Z Sports, and you'll get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. If you're looking to change up your luck, switch sports books, or just get into it to start, BetMGM is the perfect place for you. Don't forget to download the app, plug in our bonus code ATOZ Sports, and cash in up on this great offer, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses.
All right, Jack, I'll send you to the chat. We need more likes on the show, so hit that like button, please. That goes a long way for us here on the show, on Facebook and on YouTube. Like the show, like the show, like the show. Excuse me, but we also asked, what's one word to describe J.C. Latham's growth in just 3 weeks of Titans practices? So, Jack, I'll send you the chat to see what people are saying.
Steven on YouTube is going to start us off with beast. We've got phenomenal, encouraging, promising, massive, dedicated, anti-panda from Eldon. Exponential.
Bingo. How about that? That's my one word for Eldon's answer. Bingo.
Superb, stud, exponential, needed, dominant, impressive, incremental, hopeful, magnificent, dedicated, sensational, coaching, good word, Derek, sturdy, focus, exceptional, perfect, exciting, dog, starstruck.
Disciplined assholes with grit. Remember, that's what dog stands for the Tennessee Titans. Disciplined assholes with grit. So just want to throw that out there.
Exponential, promising, Callahan, Pro Bowler, predictable, learner.
Predictable?
Smart,
that's
premature.
not giving J.C. Latham enough credit.
You don't think so? Okay.
Saying predictable.
Yeah, the doubters he had coming out of college, moving to the left side, he had a lot of critics, and some of those were Titans fans who believed that Olu Fashanu was the pick there. So visible, exponential, exquisite, focused, exponential. That's probably the most popular word. Austin, I'm going to use a double entendre, and I'm going with chip. I think that there is a massive chip on J.C. Latham's shoulder. I think he's heard the criticisms. I think he's heard the doubt about making the switch over to left tackle, and potentially the Titans having reached to go get him at 7th overall, when maybe analysts and fans alike have agreed that they could have probably traded back and still got him, around 10, 11, 12. But also, what I've seen out of J.C. Latham so far, not just in terms of moving dummies and sleds and pads, because none of that stuff really translates to wins at the end of the day. It's about what you can do when there's another grown man lined up against you and, the pressure's on and you're tired in the fourth quarter. Can you make a stop? Can you go ahead and stonewall that pass rusher? We'll figure that part out later. But the intangible stuff, I am loving. The staying after practice, getting in work. He already sounds like a leader. He's cheering on Cole Spencer, a UDFA, to move the sled on the goal line. The goal line mentality. Keep pushing, keep pushing. I love to see him kind of take charge of that group because, Lloyd Cushenberry, sure, he's the most experienced of that group. I mean, Daniel Brunskill's maybe been around a little longer, but Cushenberry's probably the most talented right there, or at least he's put the most on tape. But J.C. Latham has the highest expectations among this offensive line group. And I love to see him taking command of this unit because it's going to be his in no time. I mean, in a couple of years, this is going to be J.C. Latham's group. He's going to headline this unit. So for him to have these intangibles that are already on display, his will to win, this hunger that's so palpable when you watch him. I mean, you can sense it when you see him out there doing drill work. That's what I love about J.C. Latham. So my word is chip.
All right, so Jason, who said predictable, and I pushed back on that a little bit. Jason follows up and says predictable because of his size and power. Also, what his former coaches said about him. I'm not surprised that he is powerful and can push a sled around. I get what you're saying there, but I think it's more than just pushing sleds. I think it's the approach that J.C. Latham has taken to the beginning of his NFL career, of the things that we have not seen. And it's like, I truly don't think that just because you're powerful, and I'm going to play the Bertha videos back to back again to make my point here, because the first time you meet Bertha and you struggle like he did, power does not make the difference from day 1 to day 19. That was day 1, and here again is day 19, just 19 days later. Again, I watched every Titans offensive lineman do that drill yesterday. Nobody came close to owning that thing and mastering that like J.C. Latham. So it's more than just being powerful. I think it's the mindset that he has about how he's approaching this job. There is literally a responsibility that he is taking and using this. And Jay says technique over power. It's all about technique. And somebody asked earlier in the show, like, who do you think could do a better job with Bertha, Jeffrey Simmons versus J.C. Latham? Oh, I don't think Jeffrey Simmons would do well at all against Bertha. Like, it's because it's not about who's strongest, who's most explosive. It's about the technique. And Jeffrey Simmons is not an offensive lineman. And when I'm watching every other offensive lineman do that sled and have struggles with it, not being super clean to look like what J.C. Latham looks like, it's different. And so my one word for J.C. Latham's growth over the 3 weeks of Titans practices that he's had, ceilingless. I don't think there is a ceiling to J.C. Latham's ability. The title says J.C. Latham exudes elite potential. And it is still right now potential because he hasn't worn any pads. He still has a helmet and a jersey and shorts on. But it's the mentality that he's approaching this job with. And I think ceilingless is my answer because he's got everything, right? He is 6'6", 340 pounds. He moves like a deer. I was texting with our guy, Ramon Foster, former 11-year offensive lineman in the NFL, doing the Zone's morning show this morning. I was texting about some J.C. Latham stuff. He said he moves like a dancing bear. And Ramon was out there watching practice yesterday. So he's a 6'6", 340-pound dancing bear who's got these two things that Brian Callahan pointed out. He's smart and he works hard. And so you've got the dancing bear who's smart and works hard. It's a full package. So J.C. Latham is ceilingless when it comes to his potential in the NFL. He's got to continue to play it out there. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to do all these things right and keep putting in this work and not let the foot off the gas. But I think his potential is ceilingless.
Yeah, and I think there's a misconception. I see a couple comments in the chat. I don't think anybody's ready to crown him as a Pro Bowl player yet. I think that's the difference. Like we're allowed to love what we see at this point in the offseason, while also not jumping to crazy conclusions and declaring J.C. Latham to be a top 10 left tackle in the NFL. He's got to earn that, and he's got to put together multiple years before anybody's going to respect him in that regard. So, and another thing with Skoronski, I saw a comment said, "What y'all are forgetting about Skoronski?" When I said J.C. Latham is going to headline this unit, you need your left tackle to be the headline of the unit. I mean, that's the most important position on the offensive line. Skoronski, look, I'm excited for him. I'm excited for him to have a full season in his second year and take that jump because of that appendicitis issue that he had last year that kept him out, maybe stunted his growth a little bit. I'm excited about Skoronski. I'm even more excited about the potential of Skoronski between Cushenberry and Latham. I mean, that's a left side that's going to be a force to be reckoned with when this season gets going. So I'm not ready to, declare him a Pro Bowler by moving these sleds and just being dominant in OTAs. But I think some of the intangibles are there with J.C. Latham. He's big. He's strong. Bill Callahan's going to get him right. But a lot of these offensive linemen that have come through the Titans and have failed haven't had that dog in them. Andre Dillard, Isaiah Wilson, J.C. Latham appears to have that early on.
No doubt. So I mentioned earlier that J.C. Latham is the best looking first round draft pick the Titans have had since A.J. Brown, and that was in 2019. And I want to take this even further because, Jack, this upcoming training camp will be my 12th training camp covering the Tennessee Titans. So that goes all the way back to the training camp of 2013. And that was with another top 10 offensive lineman from the University of Alabama in Chance Warmack. And we know how that worked out, right? Not great. But I'm just going to go through and name the first-round draft picks the Tennessee Titans have had in my 12 years of watching these guys at this point of the year. And I will tell you that J.C. Latham is the most impressive first-round draft pick in all 12 years. Right? Now, look, there's some bad picks in there, but Chance Warmack, obviously. Taylor Lewan did not look like this in his first 3 weeks as a Tennessee Titan. Marcus Mariota, same thing. Jack Conklin, absolutely not. Corey Davis, Adoree Jackson, no chance. Rashaan Evans, no chance either. He was hurt and pulled a hamstring and missed a lot of camp time. Jeffrey Simmons was coming off the ACL, so he is ineligible for this. Isaiah Wilson, Caleb Farley, absolutely not. Treylon Burks was bending over, hands on his knees after his first rep of his first drill. It's a big difference there. And then Peter Skoronski last year, they're just different players. Peter Skoronski is going to be a good player for the Titans, maybe for the next 8 years, but he ain't J.C. Latham. And so I'm just saying right now, J.C. Latham is the most impressive Titans rookie that I've seen in 12 years with A.J. Brown. That's it.
I mean, that's the Big Jeff thing. You're right, because he was coming off that knee surgery. And I mean, but some of those guys you listed, I hate to say it, because 12 years of first round picks, I mean, that's a pretty significant sample size, but the bar is not exactly
I know,
high.
but you've got some like Jack Conklin. Look, Jack Conklin, Marcus Mariota, Taylor Lewan. Those are 3 first round draft picks all in a row who played really good football for this franchise pretty early, right? Like Adoree Jackson was fun to watch in training camp or in camp around this time, but he didn't look this ready. Like J.C. Latham looks ready. Lewan wasn't this ready. Marcus Mariota at quarterback was not this ready. I watched Will Levis last year. He was exciting, but he didn't look J.C. Latham ready. That is what I think is crazy about this. He looks like he's an NFL offensive lineman already.
Yeah, and a lot of draft analysts said that he was his body was the most pro ready of any of the offensive linemen that were drafted in this class. So you want him to look ready. I mean, you want him to look like this, because if he doesn't, then that takes away one of his biggest perceived strengths, I should say. So look, I'm excited about J.C. Latham, but MB has a comment here. He says, after 3 days of OTAs, I agree. I mean, we're less than a week in when it comes to OTAs. So I like what I see. I love what I see. But again, I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit. I want to see it. I want to see it against live action.
All right. Now let's get to our next conversation, Jack, because this is guaranteed to trigger Titans fans. Calvin Ridley gasses up Treylon Burks in the most triggering way for everybody watching. So we'll get to that comment. We'll play Calvin Ridley's video here in a second from what he said about Treylon Burks. But first, I want to tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever an injury pops up in life, you have to know how you can deal with it, where to go, and how to get back to health so that it doesn't linger for you and mess up what you want to do in your everyday life. And that's what I'm doing with the Bone and Joint Institute right now. Had a knee issue, went to the Bone and Joint in Franklin, got a quick appointment, in and out, got some physical therapy I'm doing for the diagnosis of some tendonitis to make sure that this knee does not keep bothering me, whether it's everyday life, exercise, doing what I want to do, and living my life how I want to do it. The Bone and Joint Institute is helping me out with that. They can do the same thing for you, regardless of what the injury is, the severity, or hopefully not the level of severity that it could be. But the Bone and Joint Institute has all the resources right there in Franklin off of I-65 and Highway 96. So check them out online, boneandjointtn.org.
BetMGM.com. Check these guys out if you're looking to get a little action in the sports betting game. Download the app. New users plug in our bonus code A to Z Sports when you sign up, and you'll get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. It's easy to navigate. They've got boosted odds specials, parlay selection features, live betting options, you name it. BetMGM's got it, and it's easy to navigate for people who are just getting started. So download BetMGM, plug in our bonus code A to Z Sports, and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses.
Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification. All requirements. First online real money widget. Only rewards issued eligible bonus bets expire in 7 days. And for a problem game with support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. All right, Treylon Burks time. So I'm going to play this video of Calvin Ridley being asked about Treylon Burks, and he just goes and lists a lot of things that makes Treylon Burks sound like a gold jacket is in his future. Here is Calvin Ridley first talking about an actual guy who has a gold jacket in his future in DeAndre Hopkins and Tyler Boyd, but also really a lot more about Treylon Burks.
We all been in, obviously D-Hop, he's a Hall of Famer. TB has been in the league balling since he got in the league. Me too. So, and then we got crazy amount of guys. Burks, sick stud, man. It's gonna be crazy. Dude was crazy. But yeah, that core, I got all the faith. Like I said, we're gonna work together, and we got some good names on our roster. But we're gonna get after. We're gonna get after dudes.
What are your initial impressions of Treylon? He's kind of had trouble getting going in his first 2 years, and now has a lot of experience in front of him.
Yeah, this dude is a freak. Like, seriously, bro, he's gonna be a stud. There's no worries with him. What I see, he's like Julio, AJ Brown. He's like T.O. Dude that big, that fast, man. He's a stud, man. You don't gotta worry about him. You just gotta learn, slow the game down. He's gonna be all right.
How's your chemistry with?
Oof. Look, freak, sick, stud, Julio, AJ Brown, Terrell Owens, that big, that fast. That's a lot. That's a lot of big words discussing Treylon Burks. So, Jack, I'll toss it to you first. How do you feel hearing now Calvin Ridley after we've heard DeAndre Hopkins, after we've heard Tyke Tolbert, the wide receivers coach, after we've heard Brian Callahan, the head coach, all glowing about the offseason that Treylon Burks has had so far?
Yeah, let me pull this one up. Matt Stotler says this is what he needs. A little confidence from his peers will help. I disagree. I think what Calvin Ridley said about Treylon Burks does him no favors. We're talking about Treylon Burks, who's had plenty of expectations tied to him ever since he came into the league because of the A.J. Brown trade, the first-round draft label. When D-Hop and now Calvin Ridley, continue to pump him up. And I get it. They're new teammates of his, and they probably see some stuff that we're not privy to seeing in the offseason when they train together, when they practice together, that make them excited about Treylon Burks. But I think that Treylon Burks needs a season where expectations are a little tempered. So when you compare him to A.J. Brown, when you compare him to Terrell Owens, I think that's setting the bar really high. And I think that that's, once again, raising these expectations for a guy who hasn't done much of anything at the NFL level. So I get what Calvin Ridley's trying to say. I'm not knocking Calvin Ridley for gassing up a teammate. I just think that this doesn't do Burks any favors because now, fans, the media, they're all going to have expectations for Treylon Burks. And we've seen him kind of fall flat with those things tied around him in the past. So I'm a little worried about him. I don't think that it's fair to Treylon Burks for him to draw comparisons to Terrell Owens and A.J. Brown. I think that does him a disservice.
Okay. Now, I do see somebody in the comments saying, Jack, what's he supposed to say? He sucks?
That's right.
No.
I'm not upset with Calvin Ridley for saying it. I just think that these things raise the expectations for Treylon Burks, and we've seen him kind of not handle expectations well. I think the best version of Treylon Burks you can get this season is one who doesn't feel any pressure to perform, who kind of accepts his role, thrives in it, and, sometimes pops up in big games, makes a big play, but you're not depending on Treylon Burks. And I just think when you throw out all these different adjectives to describe him like a generational talent, like we all, maybe thought he was when he came out of college, his performance has not backed that up. And I just worry about the expectations we're setting once again, because it's hard for me too. Like Titans fans are in the same boat. I feel like it's hard to not fall into that Treylon Burks hype season discussion because of the things that Calvin Ridley mentioned, his size, his speed, the power, the explosiveness, all of these things are great, but we haven't seen it on the field. And until we do, I'm gonna probably, be a little conservative with my opinions on Treylon Burks.
That's fair. And I'll play this video of it. This is the best Treylon Burks video of the offseason thus far. You saw the get off the line speed. You saw him click into that extra gear, right? Halfway down the field, he kicked it up a notch, tracked the ball well over the shoulder, and you heard the head coach, Brian Callahan, not a way to track it, because look, Treylon Burks has struggled with some things like that. And so I think that looks great. I want to see more of that. That looks very similar to what he did against the Chargers in week 2 for 70 yards, right? And so I think for me, and somebody says it's like last year, Austin. Like Rashid, you're right. It is like last year. And Shrike asked the question earlier of, do we think Vrabel was giving Treylon Burks the confidence internally that it seems like this group is doing, or do we think like it was the other way around, right? Because like Mike Vrabel asked and said good things about Treylon Burks. Like it wasn't like, I think he likes Treylon Burks. I think there was a lot of frustration from everybody with the fact that he kept having freak injuries, with a concussion twice, bad, 2 of them, real bad concussions twice that are not anybody's fault. The sprained knee in Minnesota joint practice sucked because it ruined that momentum for him to make plays like that. And then he lost confidence because he was dropping passes in games. Like so many, like Ryan Tannehill, and it would have had way better numbers in the first 2 months of the season before he got benched or hurt, I guess, if Treylon Burks would have caught like 4 different passes that have been the same, hit him in the numbers on a crossing route and see what happens. There was a play yesterday, Jack, in 7-on-7. Will Levis hit Burks on a quick route. He got right inside of Cheeto and passed right in stride, up the seam, gone. And that was in 7-on-7 work. I know, again, no pads. It's May 29th yesterday. It's not that big of a deal. But you say that Ridley, D-Hop, Callahan, Tolbert, gassing up Treylon Burks is setting too high of expectations. I feel like this is what Treylon Burks needs, though. I feel like he is somebody that needs that positive reinforcement and encouragement to get him to have more confidence, to not drop passes, to play light and free, because you drop passes when you're tight. You catch passes when you're comfortable. And Will Levis, we talked about it yesterday, how comfortable he is with this offense and this system and this coaching staff. Maybe Treylon Burks is doing a lot of the same stuff.
Sure, I hear you. And maybe he does need that positive reinforcement. I mean, it's hard, I totally buy that he needs a little bit of encouragement. I just worry. I want him to perform in a regular season game before we jump to this next step. And I think that's totally fair. Denise says, Jack, for being a Titans fan, you sure are negative sometimes. Denise, oh my gosh, I am the most optimistic Titans fan in this entire chat right now. I have nothing but great things to say. I support all these guys. But listen, I'm calling a spade right now. I'm just judging Treylon Burks off of what he's given us. And it hasn't been a whole lot. Injuries have popped up, not necessarily all been his fault, but when he's been out there, it's been underwhelming. So forgive me for not jumping immediately on the Treylon Burks hype train 3 days into OTAs, because I know what I've seen when he's been out there in the regular season. It's whether it's been Tannehill or Will Levis, like Treylon Burks has not been that dude. And I don't know that there's enough football to go around this season for him to really pop off like all these Titans fans are wanting. I mean, Tyler Boyd's going to get his. Calvin Ridley, D-Hop's going to get theirs. Chig's going to get his. The running backs, Pollard and Spears, they're going to get touches. So while all this is fine and dandy, and it's great to see him perform, I'm happy for Treylon Burks having a good offseason. But I'm not buying the fool's gold. And you can't blame me for not wanting to buy that fool's gold based on what he's put on tape through 2 seasons in the NFL and when he's not been on the field.
And I'm not blaming you for that. I just think it's adding to the fascination of what Treylon Burks' storyline is, right? Because trade him now, like all this positive, trade him now. You don't need to trade him. We've been over this. Keep him because D-Hop's under contract for this year, and that's it. Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd are going to be 30 years old by the time the playoff push hits. You need depth, and you need Treylon Burks to do well. That's the best case scenario, is that Treylon Burks develops into a rotational playmaker for the Tennessee Titans, because then maybe he can be a regular playmaker for the Titans in 2025. And so I see comments from John and others talking about Burks will be a tight end in 2 years. I don't think so. I just don't. I don't think it's that easy. And we're going to have a topic tomorrow about the attitude and the differences between, and Chig talked about it, Arden Key talked about it yesterday, of the main differences between the previous regime and this one. And so just like we talked about earlier with those offensive line drills, look how different Dylan Radins looks physically and some of the technique and just how he's moving. Coaching matters. So if we're going to let Bill Callahan coach up this offensive line, it's been the worst O-line in the league for the last 2 years with new players and new talent, better talent. Absolutely. But I'm going to let Tyke Tolbert and Brian Callahan in this system coach up Treylon Burks to see what that can be too. So my mind is open. I'm not door shut on Treylon Burks. I'm also not going in there tooting the hype train horn for Treylon Burks at all.
And that's where we should be.
Yes, I think the stance for everybody for Treylon Burks is to hope that he can put it together for his sake, because it's also good for the team, but also know that nobody should make up their mind until you see it on a game day Sunday, whether it's in Chicago or in Nashville, week 2, week 3 against the Jets and the Packers. We got to wait. And John is yelling here. Now, Burks is out of shape. Not right now. Not right now. He is not out of shape.
The last thing I'll say on this is you've talked about it on this show, and that's fine. You want an answer for Will Levis this season. You want an answer for Treylon Burks this season.
Yes.
And we're still looking for an answer for a first-round pick heading into year 3. Like, that's where we are right now. We have to accept that that's where we are right now. And it's okay to not buy the fool's gold right now in OTAs. I mean, we've seen it, and we've seen the mirage in the distance, the water in the distance of the desert, right? We've seen this in OTAs before. We've seen him ball out in training camp. But when it comes to Sundays, it just hasn't translated. And until it does, I am on the fence about Treylon Burks.
And that's fair.
And that's the only place I can go. He's not shown me enough to pull me on his side. I'm not totally out on him either, because Brian Callahan's staff, his scheme, Will Levis is a first-year full-time starter. All of these things seem to play in his favor. So that's why I'm not giving up on Treylon Burks, but I'm also not buying the hype yet.
All right, so King VC, super chat time. King VC says, like the show. Let's go, Mitch. Mitch came in early with the like the show comments. Hit that like button on Facebook and on YouTube. King VC also follows up and says, Treylon Burks has zero excuses in his opinion this season. New players, coaches, and scheme. He has a clean slate. Go make the most of it. And yes, absolutely. Go make the most. This is it for Treylon Burks. Like, this is a big year. Like, you talk about finding the answer for Levis and Burks, Caleb Farley, do or die year in the NFL for his career. Absolutely. By the way, Caleb Farley made a nice play on Treylon Burks with a jump ball sideline throw from Will Levis and had a PBU. Right. I was like, oh, hey, Caleb Farley sighting. And he's out there doing drills. Like, Caleb Farley's in 7-on-7. That's a big deal for that guy. And so, but also for Treylon Burks, it's, what are you going to do? This year will decide if he's with the Titans in 2025. Financially, it's a big deal for him if he's going to be on the open market or traded or cut going into the next season, his last year of his rookie deal. Is he going to – I don't think he's going to be able to earn a fifth-year option for 2026. I just think that ship has sailed. But this is a big deal for Treylon Burks' NFL career and the rest of his life. If he can put it together, it changes his life, his kid's life. They're currently pregnant right now. Extra motivation to go into it. I think that matters to people. It absolutely matters to people. And so I think there's a lot there. Now, anything to react to that before we get to the next super chat?
No, I just totally agree with Steve. Farley's a guy I'm really I don't think there's a guy that I'm pulling for more than Caleb Farley. After just the injury stuff, losing his father. I mean, I am rooting for Caleb Farley harder than anybody I've ever rooted for in my entire life. I just want him to find success in this league and with the Titans specifically. So it's really encouraging to hear he's making plays at this point in OTAs. I'm just excited for him. I'm sorry. I'm pulling for him.
Yeah. Apparently Chris Frazier and Jason Martin and others going back and forth. Nobody said Burks was AJ. Well, I mean, Calvin Ridley kind of did, he was talking about his physical attributes, right? Like that's Calvin Ridley was saying his physical attributes. He's a freak, sick, stud. And then he said, Julio, AJ, Tio. Like that's how Calvin Ridley said about Treylon Burks. That big, that fast. And I want to get to this again because we did have a super chat coming from, oh crap. Now my chat's being so JT. JT says that same old trash fade route he can only run. And this is not a fade route, nor is it trash.
It's a go route.
Fade route. That's a go. That is a straight up go route. Fade routes are different. Fade routes are not the same as go routes, and go routes are not fade routes. So that is an extra acceleration gear. That's good tracking, and that is a good throw from Will Levis first and foremost, and that's what you want to see. So I think, look, Treylon Burks right now is doing everything right, and he just needs to continue to do everything right.
And that's it. I mean, that's it when it comes to the Treylon Burks conversation. He's just got to keep stacking good day. It's all this coach speak that you hear all the time, or used to hear from Mike Vrabel. But it's really what he needs to do at this point in the offseason. There's nothing he can do to win the fan base over. But, I mean, in OTAs, you have a lot more to lose than you have to win. So it's nice to see him doing what he's supposed to do at this stage. But that's all I got on him.
Michael J. Coleman. Fade route, go, same route.
They're like cousins in the route.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It is very different. Very different. Not the same at all. A go route is like 30 plus yards. A fade is roughly 0 to 10-ish yards. And it's a jump ball. Like, again, they're just different. Like, they will run differently. The release off the line it's just not the same. It's not the same route. Like, your Madden sticks if you think a go route and a fade are the same damn thing. God.
Oh, I'll let you end on that mic drop. That's
all right. Magic bucket time here to wrap up this show. We got a great topic for tomorrow already locked in, but let's wrap up Thursday with a magic bucket. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or check them out online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. They've got you covered with that next car. All right, Jack, time for the magic bucket. I believe I went first last week, so I will let you go first this week.
Okay, while you're drawing, Steve says Jack's pulling for Farley but hates on Burks. I'm not hating on Burks. I'm calling a spade a spade. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should all want Treylon Burks to succeed as people.
For sure.
Okay, I think I did this. Don't think you have. Rank your top 5 TV shows of all time.
Oh, let's go. I'm excited.
I will because this takes thought. I will let you think while I get ready to pull mine. Oh, God. This is intense.
How intense?
There are 9 NFL tight ends with 60-plus touchdowns in their careers. Name as many as I can.
I did this one.
I have 3 strikes.
I did this one.
I'm out. I will hide the chat.
Let me pull up the answers.
Okay, yeah, you pull up the answers. Good Lord.
Read it one more time.
9 NFL tight ends that had 60-plus receiving touchdowns in their career. I get 3 strikes. How many can I name?
Okay.
All right.
I am
You have the answers?
ready. Got him.
Okay. And then we'll come back to your top 5 TV shows of all time. Rob Gronkowski.
1 for 1.
Okay. Travis Kelce.
Got it.
Jason Witten.
3 for 3.
Tony Gonzalez.
4 for 4.
The chat is hidden, by the way. I'm
Okay.
not, so I cannot see it. So just a heads up on that.
The first 5 or 6 are pretty easy, but you're going to need all 3 strikes towards the end. But you know all these guys, and all these guys are fairly recent.
Kellen Winslow Sr.
Strike 1.
Dallas Clark.
Strike 2.
No.
Oh, he's just outside too. He's 12th.
Jimmy Graham.
Got it. That's 5. You're missing the top 2 right now.
The top 2?
Mm-hmm.
The top 2. I have not named the top 2 tight ends with the receiving touchdowns.
You've named Jason Witten.
Yeah.
Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Help me out with the others that you've named.
Travis Kelce.
Okay.
Tony Gonzalez.
Okay. So you've gotten one of them.
Oh, Antonio Gates.
There you go. That's 6. You're missing number 4, number 7, number 8, and number 9.
4.
Unless do you have 6? Run through them one more time. All right.
I went Gronk, Kelce,
Okay.
Witten, Gonzalez, Gates, and now I forget. You were supposed to keep track of this.
I know. Now I am.
Who did I? Jimmy Graham.
Yeah. Okay. I was wondering whether or not you got him. Okay.
Yeah.
So, there we go. Okay. You're missing 7, 8, and 9.
Oh, okay. And you said they're all fairly recent.
Yeah. 2 are pretty recent, though retired. 1 has been retired for probably a decade, maybe a little over.
I'm just.
If you want hints, I can give hints.
Yeah, a hint would be good because I'm down to my 3rd strike. I've got 2 strikes on the board.
Okay. 2 of them are in the NFL media.
It's very broad.
It's a good hint. Not too much. Tight ends in the media. Let's see if the
mean, Gronk's in the media.
chat knows
Witten's in the media. Oh my god. I'm having Tony Gonzalez is in the media. They're all in the media. What are you talking about?
Okay, one of them is the king of NFL media.
Oh, Shannon Sharp.
Yes, that's 7. The other is a member of Fox. Want to say. He's an analyst.
I don't watch Fox.
A color guy.
I'm gonna have to give up.
He has a famous rap song from the early 2000s, late 90s.
I'm gonna have to give up.
Okay.
We'll call it.
So,
who the 2 I missed?
Number 9 was Greg Olson.
Greg Olson.
And 7, I think the 7 was the hardest one of them all. It's Vernon Davis. You forget how many touchdowns that dude's got.
Oh, wow. Vernon Davis.
Mm-hmm. But not bad work. Not
Who
bad.
had the rap song? Vernon Davis?
No. Third leg Greg.
Greg Olson did?
Oh, yeah. What is it, from the 7th floor at the U?
Carpet King agrees. I had no idea. But man, okay, so I missed Greg Olson and Vernon Davis.
7th floor crew. I was right. Yeah. Good run at it, though. The chat was on it.
Dang, that was good. All right, do you have your top 5 TV shows of all time ready?
JR, I said color guy. Yes, I've got it. Ready?
Yep.
Always Sunny in the 1.
Yep.
Ozarks batting 2nd. Game of Thrones in the 3. A better final season would have probably vaulted it to 2. Nothing's going to beat Always Sunny. South Park, longest running, still so funny. I need to watch the special that they just released. And then a little underdog, Barry on HBO, Bill Hader, so good. Appointment television for me. And maybe one of the best endings in TV show history. So those are my 5.
All right. Nice. Solid list.
Thank you. Thank you.
I knew you were a big Always Sunny guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
People
Always
were
Sunny's
like,
number 1.
no Breaking Bad. Oh, that's tough. Rashid said you better say Dragon Ball Z. Were you a Dragon Ball Z guy?
No,
kid?
I don't think I've ever seen it. And
Really?
okay, so Nick's coming at my list already. There's a couple of honorable mentions that like probably nobody else really likes. I like Trailer Park Boys a lot. Workaholics. I like those kind of relaxed, like funny, goofy, no point to it, silly, plotless TV shows. So, Caleb says no Trailer Park. Yeah, honorable mention. So
There you go.
That's kind of my style.
All right, that'll do it for us on this Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow for a great topic on Friday morning, talking more about the Titans' change of culture and maybe a little sideswipe against Mike Vrabel that happened yesterday from a Titans veteran. So there's a little tease for you there. Make sure you hit that like button on the show on Facebook and on YouTube. More likes help us out and go a long way. Buck Rising will be live tonight to wrap up his week on A to Z Sports Primetime at 7 p.m. Central on these same channels. We'll catch you guys tomorrow morning at 8-ish. See you then. Appreciate it as always.
Tighten up pod out now.